We are wasting $2 trillion, not million, not billion, $1 trillion a year chasing green fantasies. Despite much hype, the much vaunted green energy transition away from fossil fuels isn't happening. Well, once more, there's more nuclear, it might. Achieving a meaningful shift with current policies turns out to be unaffordable. We need to drastically change policy direction. Keep this in mind. See, this will be on the test, guys. This will be important. Current policies turn out to be unprofitable. Globally, we're already spending almost $2 trillion annually to try to force an energy transition. Over the past decade, solar and wind energy have been increased to their highest ever levels. But it hasn't reduced fossil fuels. On the contrary, we've added more fossil fuels over the same time. Green energy! Countless studies show that when societies add more renewable energy, most of it never replaces coal, gas, or oil. It simply adds to energy consumption. Yeah, maybe we only need all of these extra wind turbines and solar plants just so we could power all those new electric cars that are on the road now. My recent research shows that for every 6 units of new green energy, less than 1 unit displaces any fossil fuel. Analysis in the US shows that renewable energy subsidies simply lead to more overall energy being used. In other words, policies meant to boost green energy are leading to more emissions. But that's because real emission reduction hasn't been tried yet, obviously. And none of this should come as a surprise to any student of history. So not the people pushing for this stuff. Yeah, I got to keep that in mind. During the transition from wood to coal during the 1800s, overall wood use actually increased even while coal took over a greater percentage of energy needs. Same thing happened when we shifted from coal to oil. By 1970, oil, coal, and gas and wood all delivered more energy than ever. Humans have an unquenchable thirst for affordable energy, which is required for every aspect of modern life. In the past half century, energy we get from oil and coal has again doubled, hydropower has tripled, and gas has quadrupled. And we have experienced an explosion in the use of nuclear and solar and wind. And on the whole, and the average person, the whole world and the average person has never had more energy available. Absolutely true. This is why we need to make a Dyson swarm already. The grand plan underpinning today's green energy transition mostly insists that pushing heavily subsidized renewables everywhere will magically make fossil fuels go away. But a recent study concluded that talk of a transition is misleading. During every previous edition of a new energy source, the researchers found has been entirely unprecedented for these additions to cause a sustained decline in the use of established energy sources. What causes us to change our relative use of energy? Just RNG. One study investigated 14 shifts have taken place over the past 5 centuries, like when farmers went from plowing fields with animals to fossil fuel powered tractors. The main driver has always been that the new energy service is better or cheaper. Yeah, it could either do more work than your previous method, or you could do the same amount of work, but for a lower price. That is exactly right. Solar and wind fail on both counts. They're not better because unlike fossil fuels that can produce electricity whenever we need it, they can only produce energy according to the vagaries of daylight and weather. Yeah, and that's why you need to invest even more into batteries, which don't last forever. This means that they are not cheaper either. At best, they are only cheaper when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing at just the right speed. The rest of the time, they're mostly useless and infinitely costly. When we factor in the cost of just 4 hours of storage, wind and solar energy solutions become uncompetitive compared to fossil fuels. Achieving a real sustainable transition to solar and wind would require orders of magnitude more storage, making these options incredibly unaffordable. Well, you could do it anyway and then just charge the customer for it. Moreover, solar and wind only address a small part of a vast challenge. They are almost entirely deployed in the electricity sector, which makes up just 1/5 of all global energy use. We still struggle to find green solutions for most transport, and we haven't even begun with the vast energy needs of heating and manufacture or agriculture. We are all but ignoring the hardest and most crucial sectors like steel, cement, plastics, and fertilizer. So little wonder then that for all the talk of the world undergoing energy transition, even the Brandon admin finds that while renewable energy sources will dramatically increase globally up to 2050, oil, gas, and coal will keep increasing too. That's right. So on this trajectory, we will never achieve energy transition away from fossil fuels. This will require vastly more subsidies for solar and wind, as well as for batteries and hydrogen. And oh god, and the problem with like fucking hydrogen or especially helium, I guess no, with hydrogen we can deplete our water supply to get that, but helium. Oh my god! Like hydrogen and helium are the two most common elements in the entire fucking universe, but they're not common here. Like pretty much all the hydrogen on Earth is locked inside of other molecules like water, and there's very little helium because helium doesn't bond with anything, so it just disappears. It just floats off into space because it's so light. I mean, it's all up in the sun. It's all up in the gas giants and the ice giants, but we got like nothing here. We're gonna have to go out to space to get some hydrogen, like in decent amounts. Yeah, let's mine the sun. Yeah, we got to mine the sun for hydrogen. Unironically, it's called starlifting. It's something we could do. Actually, be pretty cool. All righty. So for us all to accept less efficient technologies for important needs like steel and fertilizer. On top of that, a true transition would require politicians to impose massive taxes on fossil fuels to make them less desirable. Yup. That's right, because unless you artificially make them more expensive than the green alternatives, yeah, this whole thing is dirty. But hey, there's a lot of politicians who have businesses that stand to make a lot of money, so that's why they push this shit. McKinsey estimates the direct price tag to achieve a real transition of more than $5 trillion annually. This splurge would slow economic growth, make the real cost 5 times higher. Annual cost for people living in rich countries would be higher than $13,000 per person per year. Voters won't agree to that pain. Well, that's why you don't give them a choice. The only realistic way to achieve a transition is to vastly improve green energy alternatives. This means more investment in green energy research and development. Innovation is needed in wind and solar, but also in storage, nuclear energy, and many other possible solutions. Well, nuclear and storage, how about that? So, bringing alternative energy costs below the price of fossil fuels is the only way green solutions can be implemented globally, and not just by the elite and a few climate concerned wealthy countries. When politicians tell you the green transition is here and we need to get on board, they're really just asking voters to support them, throwing more good money after bad. We need to be much smarter. Yeah, and all these politicians that are pushing for this, every last one of these motherfuckers, they got a personal vested interest in this. Like either them or their family members own companies that benefit from these subsidies. So they're like, oh yeah, let's keep these subsidies going. Obviously, all the bribery. I mean, all the lobbyists surrounding this industry, same way, they got a vested interest in all of these subsidies coming in.